So, did anything happen today in the NFL? We got a lot to go over. Oh, yeah. Wow. What a crazy day in the NFL. James is here. He's ready. I'm ready. I had a list of things I wanted to go over. And I got crumple it up, throw it away. Because wow. Funk says good morning, man. James says let's go. What's up, guys? Crazy day in the NFL, man. I had some points that I wanted to go over. I had some bullet points I wanted to go over. Then we got so many things that happened, and let's just go. I normally don't quote Twitter, but this is a guy that has a pretty good social media account. He has a list of things that went on. I'm going to go over. Vikings released Adam Thielen and Cam Dantzler. I liked Cam Dantzler coming out of Mississippi State. I think he's a really good corner. Just hasn't really panned out. This is going to be a guy that could go to a team. Has a lot of upside, a lot of potential. Adam Thielen's a really good receiver. I kind of saw this coming. He's slowed down. He's injury prone. When he's healthy, he's really good. I mean, really good. He was on the NFL Network during the draft. He's got future in television. He's really good. He was really good on TV. Really good on TV. He's got a future in the broadcast booth or as on the NFL Network once his career is over. Unfortunately, he's probably on the back end here. Gooch is here. Gooch sent me his mock draft. I don't want to ruin it, but it's really good. It's really, really good. Every now and then you see a mock draft and you're like, I didn't see that, but it makes sense. And that's what Gooch sent me. I'm going to try to have Gooch on next week and do a live first round mock draft. And I'm going to see if I can get some other people to come in, because as much as Gooch is the talent and people love seeing me, I'd like to get one other person involved. On my mock draft, I released, the link is below if you haven't seen it already. I did a poll and 18% of the people hate me because of the draft. I did not get a lot of positive. I got a lot of hate about my mock draft, but I thought it was pretty good. I'm working on my mock 2.0, but we had all the craziness today. Darius Slay is asking permission to be traded. This I didn't see. I thought he was happy in Philly. He's looking for a trade. I don't know if there's a market really. I don't think this is going to happen. I really don't. But we're going to have to see what happens. The Dolphins do pick up their 5th-year option on Tua. Whether it's right or wrong, Tua is going to be the guy in Miami, at least next year. So, you know what? I didn't even get a chance, but Gooch puts in if Rodgers goes to the Jets. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think by the way, that was the number one thing I wanted to talk about before all this craziness happened is I do think Rodgers is going to end up with the Jets. I really do think that. And I think Thielen goes there too. And I think the Jets are become instant Super Bowl contenders because that defense is really good. Garrett Wilson looks like he could be a star wide receiver in this league. And Breece Hall, I thought would have been rookie of the year if he didn't get injured. Philly hired Patricia. I did not know that. I should have known that. So Patricia and Slay have some beef. I didn't know that. I didn't know they hired Patricia. So that makes a lot of sense. Eagles re-signed Brandon Graham to a 1-year, $6 million deal. I love that move. But absolutely love that move. I did not see that coming. I really didn't see it coming. Usually teams aren't emotional, and Philly's one of those teams. Speaking of Philly, Slasher says Anthony Richardson's going number 1. You heard this first. You know what? We're going to talk a lot about this because I did not see this coming. I've been saying this for a long time. Indianapolis is going to trade up to 1. Indianapolis is going to trade up number 1. I've been telling several people that I really think that the Colts are going to go to 1. It's been their history. They traded, they didn't trade up for Manning, but they had Manning at number 1. They had Andrew Luck at number 1. And I really thought it would happen because I think the Colts are set up to win. I mean, they got young talent on offense. They have a good offensive line. They have a really good defense. Anthony Richardson going number 1. I'm gonna get through these points here before I answer any more comments here because that's a good one, and I want to talk about that quite a bit. Patriots, Devin McCourty retires. Probably not a Hall of Famer. His brother's really good on Good Morning Football. Hopefully he has a career. The Broncos released Ronald Darby and Chase Edmonds. Both, I think, are pretty good players. Darby's a guy I really like. Chase Edmonds in the right situation. I think a team like Kansas City would be perfect for a guy like Edmonds. Maybe sign him cheap. Titans released Ben Jones. That's one of the points I did want to talk about is the Titans are just having a fire sale. They're trying to just and this may be a situation where I'm looking at 2024 because I think the Titans are a team that's just saying, okay, we gave it our best shot. We're just going to blow up the team. And what happens when you blow up the team? You don't have a very good record. And what do? You usually fire your head coach. And I'm looking at 2024 as a team that if you're a team and you have a coach that's on the hot seat, like let's say Atlanta, for example, Arthur Smith's on the hot seat, you may be looking at this and going, can I get Mike Vrabel to come here? Teams think like this. And that's something I think about because I think Vrabel's one of the best coaches in the National Football League, but you're 7-3, and then 6 straight losses, 7 straight losses, something crazy. And your team is, you tried to trade Derrick Henry, you traded A.J. Brown, you have a crazy quarterback situation. Steelers released William Jackson III. This is a guy that I always thought would be a really good player, but he's been released twice now. I don't get it. Brock Purdy undergoes elbow surgery. He'll be ready in a couple months. It was a great story, but this guy is going to go into 2023 as a backup. And the Jets don't tender James Robinson, making him a free agent. All right. I got through all those. All right. So here's the big story of the day. The Carolina Panthers trade up to number 1. They give up. Oh, God, I should have brought the details up. But the big thing, I think, is that the Bears get DJ Moore. And DJ Moore is a player I've really liked for a long time. I think he's an excellent wide receiver. You get DJ Moore. You still get a first-round pick. You pick 9th. You get a really good draft pick at 9. And then you get a first-round pick next year. I like the move for Carolina because they've been just whiffing on quarterbacks. And to be honest, they had a number 1 pick with Cam Newton. That was a good selection for them. He was an MVP, took him to a Super Bowl. You can argue how much you like or don't like Cam Newton. I get that. But that's what you got. So Carolina, they traded for Darnold. So what happened is, first of all, they gave a 7-year, $60 million contract to Matt Rule. Matt Rule came in. He didn't want to work with Cam Newton. Kind of, they got rid of Cam Newton, I thought, the wrong way. Matt Rule didn't want anything to do with him, didn't even try to work with him. They traded for Sam Darnold. At the time, I thought it was a pretty good move. I loved Darnold. I thought he had lots of upside. I thought that he was put in a bad situation with the New York Jets. I mean, remember they had drawing a blank now. The coach in Tampa Bay, not Brian Flores, Todd Bowles. They had Todd Bowles, who was building a young defense, and then you draft a redshirt sophomore out of USC, and I thought it was a situation for disaster. So I didn't blame Darnold for failing in New York. And I was like, well, you got an offensive-minded coach in Matt Rule. You go to Carolina, you got some weapons. Remember, they had CMC at the time. I thought it was a situation it could have worked. And anyway, he didn't really play well. As soon as they signed Baker Mayfield or traded for Baker Mayfield, I don't remember how they acquired him. I think actually he was a free agent. I was like, okay, well, Rule's going to be gone. they're going to do something different at quarterback. So it was just a disaster. And Matt Rule, he's going to have a lot of success at Nebraska, in my opinion. Plus, he got a lot of money, so don't feel bad for Matt Rule. Wasn't cut out to be an NFL head coach. Nothing wrong with that. Carolina trades up number one. I like the move. Here's $1 million question. Who's taking number one? Is it Anthony Richardson? And the correlation is Anthony Richardson. What's his comparison? Remember at the combine, he called himself Cam Jackson because he's a combination of Lamar Jackson. To be honest, he reminds me more of Dante Culpepper. Remember Culpepper out of UCF? I think he was 8th or 10th overall. I can't remember. Big dude, rocket arm, lots of athleticism. Didn't really pan out. That's who he reminds me of. If you had to say, give me a guy that who does Anthony Richardson remind you of? And it would be Dante Culpepper. And I hate doing comparisons, but that's who you would compare him to. Slasher says Anthony Richardson going number one. It makes sense. I love Anthony Richardson, but the problem with drafting him number one, and I have my new mock draft coming out Tuesday. And so, you get, by the way, I'm going to say this here and I'm going to get some comments. If you don't like my mock draft, I understand. I get it. I really do. I mean, the whole point of this channel is to bring 32 fan bases together and talk, and we're not always going to get along. Or we're not always going to agree. Hopefully we get along, but we're not always going to agree. Now, here's what I do want to get out. If you disagree with my draft, great. But if you put in wrong or this sucks or you're wrong, I don't have a lot of respect for you. I'm not really going to tolerate it. I had to delete some comments, and I don't mind if you disagree. I'm going to be very clear about that. Now, normally if I say point A and you say, Dan, I think point B, I'm going to naturally assume that you're wrong and I'm right. That's human nature. I'm trying to get better where I'm like, okay, well, let's see what your point of view is. But if you just say wrong or your draft sucks or, something, I'm not going to take you very serious. What do you think? And do you have a reason for it? Anthony Richardson going number one makes a lot of sense. So when I released my mock draft with Carolina going number one, I have to think about it because I'll be honest with you, I did not see this coming. So it kind of ruins my whole mock draft because actually I have a spreadsheet with the teams. I have to change it. I have to completely change it because I had my mock 2.0 set up. I was actually starting on the video. Now I have to switch it up. It's not Zarius Slay asking for a trade. It's his agent, and he will be cut if we don't find anyone. He's not getting paid $26 million. I just read off of Twitter because I saw it today. The way I don't want to get too much in. Without going into an intense amount of detail. I had to work till about 6:15, so I only had like a short period of time before I came on and did the show before I had to come in. And it was actually funny. I was going through one of the guys I follow on social media, does a lot of sports betting. He put because he's been talking about prop bets. He's a prop bet sports betting expert guy. By the way, if you want a good guy to follow, hit me up. And I'll let you know who he is. I don't think he'd have a problem if I brought him up on this show, but he's a guy that's I think he's been on TV several times. So I kind of don't want to, but he's responded to me, DMing him and publicly on social media. So, if you want a guy offer some really good sports betting props, this guy's probably one of the best in the country. Guy I respect quite a bit. I always look at his social media. So I looked at his social. I was like, Panthers, what? And then I had to go through a rabbit hole, find out the trade details. And if I'm correct, it's number 1 this year, number 2 this year. I know it's 61. I don't know if they have 2 first-round picks. DJ Moore, which is the linchpin, circle that. First-round pick in 2024, second-round pick in 25. Hopefully I got that correct. As far as this is the first time I heard about it, and I'll be honest, I completely forgot about Patricia ending up in Philly. So that's another situation completely. So, oh my God, Hey Girl TV. Oh boy, so I reposted. She put in a recipe for pico. I am cooking impaired. But she has a recipe. She just released it. By the way, go follow her. If you have a wife or a girlfriend, or if you're single like myself, check out Hey Girl TV. She's married, guys, unfortunately, but yeah, she's awesome. I'm going to go to Raiders at 7. Oh, you know what? I'm going to reveal this. I was going to wait and do this on my mock draft, but since you tuned in, I'm going to reveal this. Every team has a different quarterback number 1. In my opinion, I think the Raiders quarterback number 1 is Will Levis. And the reason why I say that is Bill Parcells. I almost said Bill Belichick, but I'm transitioning there. Bill Parcells has a rule. You never draft a quarterback who wasn't on the honor roll. Will Levis was a 4.0 student. Who was Bill Parcells' defensive coordinator? Bill Belichick. Who was Bill Belichick's offensive coordinator for a long time? It was the Raiders head coach. And another name freeze at 17 minutes. I've had like a couple of them already. Josh McDaniels. Okay. Because of that transition, I think that they really, by the way, Levis put on a show at the combine, not like Anthony Richardson, but Levis put on a show. I mean, his stock really skyrocketed up during the combine. I think the Raiders like Levis quite a bit. I really do. I've heard that from a few other people, but on this show, Slasher, I have this bookmarked. You said it. So, she is so awesome. It just seems like a Panthers thing to do, Funk. It does. It makes sense. Cam Newton has a lot of similarities. Big, strong, athletic. I thought Cam Newton was more ready to play day one. Anthony Richardson's a guy that if you draft Anthony Richardson, I think the best thing you can do is say sit down and wait. I think out of the quarterbacks, I have CJ Stroud as my quarterback number 1. Bryce Young has the best tape. Levis is most ready to play day one, and Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling. I mean, there is no ceiling with Anthony Richardson, and that's how I got him. I would not. CJ Stroud's my quarterback number 1. So I think they do. I think they miss it. And here's the deal. I mean, they spent a lot of money They spent a lot of money on Matt Rule, and it was a swing and a miss. I mean, 3 years later, he's at Nebraska. Yeah, for sure. The league is leaning more towards dual threat quarterbacks every season. CJ Stroud didn't do a lot of running, but he can. Will Levis also is a guy that can move. Bryce Young is the exception. I mean, he can move, and he's got good athleticism. But by the way, there's no way he played at 200. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't care what he weighed at the combine. He did not play last year at 200 pounds, so he needs to put on some weight. But that's definitely not a guy you don't want running around. That's why I thought Bryce Young would make a lot of sense with the Colts. Colts have a really good, solid offensive line. Now, Ike Ekwonu was probably my number one player in last year's draft. He's the Panthers' starting left tackle. The Panthers' offensive line has a solid guy at left tackle. The rest of the offensive line I have some questions about, but you're not wrong, Slasher. I'm not telling you I'm wrong. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I absolutely hate the trade, not because I think they settled, because if the Bears don't botch those picks, it could really speed up their up. Yeah, I thought, okay, my initial reaction to the trade is I think both teams won. And I say this because Carolina wants their guy. So that's a win for them. Now, if they swing and a miss, they obviously lose. I like it for the Bears because you get a really good wide receiver in DJ Moore, really good wide receiver. You still get a top 10 pick, and you get 2 first-round picks next year. And you can use one of those picks, by the way, to trade up in this year's draft. You don't have to settle. If a player free falls in this draft, for example, in my first mock draft, I have Nolan Smith going to 30. There's no way in hell he should go to 30. So when I first did my mock draft and I put Nolan Smith at 30, I'm like, no. And I went through my mock draft and I was like, yeah, I okay. So I'm trying to find another spot that he goes to in my mock draft 2.0. So you get a player last year. Jermaine Johnson dropped. Devin Lloyd dropped. A player. Remember, me and you both. I think me and you both. I know I did. I had a big man crush on Devin Lloyd. He ended up going 26, and I thought he might be. I thought he could have gone to Houston at 11, and he just started free fall. Jermaine Johnson. I was convinced the Chiefs were going to take him when they traded up to 21. Instead, they took McDuffie. And then Jermaine Johnson went a few picks later. And these were guys that, I had Devin Lloyd, I think, higher more most people, but a lot of people thought Jermaine Johnson could go top 10. He went 26. I think it was 26. So the Bears could, with these extra draft picks, they could trade back into round 1 is what my point is. So I thought we did go with our picks so much for our speedy rebuild. Well, you still got to hit on those picks. And that's the difference. Is you got to hit on those picks, and the Chase Claypool trade looks really bad right now. Pittsburgh's picking 33rd. That looks good for the Steelers. Justin Fields with DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney is going to be scary. Having another good wide receiver really opens up things for your offense. I'm sure Lions fans know this well. Yeah, and you know what? And don't forget Cole Kmet. He's a tight end. He'll be in his 3rd year. He was a guy who had a lot of upside coming out of Notre Dame, but was also pitching. He was a reliever, if I remember right. He was a guy who had a lot of upside, and I think year 1 also had some injuries. He's starting to kind of come into his own. They also had Jimmy Graham. I don't know if he's coming back or not, but Cole Kmet's a guy that's got a lot of upside. I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't going to be like Travis Kelce 2.0, but he's got some improvement. David Montgomery's a guy I absolutely loved. I know the last couple of games of the season, or I know last year he had a really good season. He's a guy that you could build a team around. At 9, you can get a piece on the offensive line. That's kind of what my first reaction will be when I do my mock draft. I'll have to plan on some things. I don't want to reveal too much about my mock draft because I want you guys to see it. By the way, if you haven't seen mock draft 1.0, check out the description below. Yeah, CJ Stroud's my quarterback number one. I mean, it's seriously, I could right now, if I really wanted to, I can make a strong case for Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young. I could put all four of them. I like your draft for the Eagles. I just think we should take cornerback in the first specialist. Yeah, when I do my second mock draft, that's kind of might be the direction I'm going in. I actually tell you the truth, I was playing around doing a projected trade, and I had the Eagles trading down from 10 in a projected trade, but I'm not going to do that now. I was going to do projected trades because I was going to have the Colts take number one, and I thought the Panthers would go from 9 to 6, and I thought the Panthers Lions could flip flop, but with this big trade, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to do 1 through 31. I'm at the Panthers at 1, and I have to just scrap my mock draft. So that's going to be my weekend. I'm doing my new mock draft starting over. So I will say this in my mock draft 2.0. I was thinking Christian Gonzalez at 10, but I think I'm going to go in a different direction. So I think he means players, but I think he means players. I'm sorry, as a Chiefs fan, I'll throw a lot of money at Gardner Johnson. Don't be sorry, man. I mean, that's a really good player. The issue is the Chiefs drafted 3 young corners and a second-year safety, and then they gave Justin Reed not a ton of money, but they gave him a lot of money. So Juan Thornhill, he was at the final year of his contract, and I think Chiefs are going to just let him walk. The Chiefs have made some news in free agency, and I was going to talk about that. I may not be able to get to it because the Chiefs are not going to tag Orlando Brown, and I was thinking that they may not, but I also don't believe that Brett Veach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Brett Veach is Kansas City Chiefs GM, for those who don't know. I don't see a way that the Chiefs are going into this draft and going, well, we have Holt left tackle. I don't see that happening. The Chiefs, I think, will fix the left tackle position before the draft. By the way, I love. Was he go? Garner, Chancey Gardner Johnson, CGJ. I'm going to get that wrong, but yeah, I love him as a player. A safety who could play in the slot. I think his stock's a lot higher than most people, and I would love it. But I think what the Chiefs are going to do is they're going to go with Reed and Cook as their safeties. They got 3 rookie corners that they drafted. Those are going to be their 3 guys, and I think that's how they're going to roll into 2023. That's just my opinion, but I wouldn't hate this at all. By the way, if you haven't already, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And guys, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I hate begging for subscribers here. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button, but please also share the channel so we can bring more people in, some really great people. And not for me, but for guys like Gooch. Bring in people so that they can be gooched. You want to get gooched. Who doesn't? Yeah, I see this too. This is the response that I see. I think that you're going to lose some players in free agency. Jason Kelce could retire. We didn't even talk about the Kelce brothers on Saturday Night Live. I was hoping Mahomes would do a cameo, but by the way, if you didn't see it, Travis Kelce did a fantastic job on Saturday Night Live. I was really surprised. I'm behind on comments, so I'm really behind on comments. All right, let me get caught up here, and then we can talk about whatever you want. Green Bay saying now A-Rod can. Yeah, I mean, the Packers aren't saying get the hell out. They're just saying, hey, if you want to leave and we can get some good draft compensation in return, we're game. I think Rodgers is going to be a Jet. I'm convinced it's going to happen. It's just a question of when. You're 100% correct, Perry. A great call here. AR-15's a boomer bust type player. Our teams, GMs really bet their job on the low floor guys, give up a lot of picks. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're Carolina and you roll the dice on it, here's the thing: AR-15, he doesn't like being called that, but you know, if Anthony Richardson is the number one pick in the draft, you got to have a plan for him. I don't think he's ready to start day one. If I was a team and I draft Anthony Richardson, I want him to sit on the bench for one full year. Now, I would use some packages. You know, I would throw him in for like a series. I would use him like on a 2-point conversion play. I mean, I would let him get his feet wet. I'd put him in garbage time. You know, if the last game of the season doesn't mean anything, do like what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes and give him the last game of the season, get your feet wet. That's how I would handle it. So if Carolina drafts him, I would say I would turn to Sam Darnold and say, listen, you're a quarterback for 2023. Play good, and we're going to help you get paid in 2024. If you're a jerk, we'll start Anthony Richardson. We'll go 3-14 or whatever, and lose a lot of money. That's what I would do. It's the upside's there, but the number one thing you need out of a quarterback is accuracy. When you look at an NFL quarterback, what's the number one thing you want? And you want accuracy as a passer. He doesn't have that. He has to develop that. That's why he needs to sit. I mean, what was his completion percentage at Florida? Like 54? And you can make excuses. You can say, well, he has dropped passes, the scheme, blah, blah, blah. Out of the 4 quarterbacks I mentioned that could go number one, who's the least accurate passer? That's Anthony Richardson. So Perry, I 1000% agree with you. Super Saiyan Lions, man. I am so far behind on comments. I'm sorry, guys. Panthers give away too much. I guarantee they. Okay, 2 for Anthony Richardson. Like who we have everybody as young and still important. Sweat, Reddick, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean Williams, all of our offensive players. They were losing a bunch of old players. You're right. You could lose Darius Slay, who his agent requested a trade, so that's going to be interesting. Kelsey, who's going to be in Canton someday. Fletcher Cox is another guy. You're right, and you know what? You've done a good job in drafting. So she's talking about her pico recipe, which is, by the way, fantastic. I think it's a good trade for both teams. I really do. Now, keep in mind, the Panthers have to hit for it to be a good trade, but I love what the Bears did. Minus GJ, if how we can't pay him, there's a lot of free agents. Yes. Gardner Johnson, White, Kelsey, just to name a few. Oh my God, I got Luke G. This is the best news I heard all day. Bears made me proud. Man, oh my God, I got Luke G in the house. Oh man. I am, oh God, I'm so happy about this. I am really happy. When I made my Lions mock draft, I was convinced I would get lots of hate from Lions fans. I really didn't. What made me really happy is that Lions fans were like, "Hey Dan, this kind of makes sense." So you like the move for the Panthers, or as a Lions fan, you think the Bears made a good or a bad decision? It'll be interesting. This is going to be a great. I am so excited. I love Luke G. We have Cam Jurgens, LMAO. Yeah, don't forget, Cam Jurgens was like the number one center. He'll come in, and he's not going to be Kelsey, but he's going to be a really good player. I really liked Jurgens last year in the draft. Nakobe Dean, we don't need White. Nakobe Dean's a guy that hopefully can come in. Kazir White's a really good player. I watched him for years with the Chargers, and when the Chargers got rid of him, I was like, yes. So, yeah. Super happy. Bears are like, I don't think you really follow the Eagles one. Probably we have 12 picks in the draft. 2 of them are in the first round. TJ Edwards. I think the Lions would get Carter or Anderson now. Ooh. That's a possibility. That is a possibility. Now let me throw this out there. Let me just throw this out there. Just remember now Arizona wants to trade down. Arizona is auctioning off their pick. I had a back and forth with Corey, aka the Red Sea, and he's firmly convinced. Now he thought Houston would jump up to number one. I told him, I was like, no, it's going to happen any day now. The Colts are going to trade up number one, book it, guarantee it. I had to eat some crow. He's convinced the Cardinals are going to trade down from 3. And I'm like, well, you may get stuck. But I thought it would be the Colts. Now with the Panthers at 1, the auction, by the way, there's an auction sign off for the Arizona Cardinals. They're a team kind of like Tennessee. They're just they're having a fire sale. Like everything must go. Everything's on clearance. You want a player, we got a player. And they're a team that can trade down. Now, if Arizona can't trade down, I could see Anderson or Carter going Arizona at 3. The Colts at 4, probably take quarterback. My last mock draft, I had Carter at 5. So I think both those players would be gone the way the draft works out now. I actually thought that the Lions would trade down with Carolina. I thought that would be the spot. So, God, my rants are going way too long today. You can't have star. No, you cannot. Young showed up over 200, didn't run, watch his pro day. He won't weigh, but exactly. And Funk caught this. I'm glad you caught it because I caught it. That was the big. I'm gonna tell you, he never weighed 204 in his life, and that's a hack that players do. I remember Ed Oliver did that at the draft. He showed up at 293, and then he ran at his pro day because he played at like 260. And that's a hack. That's a hack. Funk caught it. Jermaine Johnson's a breakout candidate for sure. He was winning a lot of his reps. We couldn't finish him out. He's a guy that I think that could really be very good next year. I think Carter would be a perfect fit. I think that's a dream pick for the Seahawks. I'll be honest with. Okay, I'm gonna throw this out there. I don't think the Lions would take Jalen Carter at 6, even if he was available. I think the Lions are one of those teams that, unless they do like diligent research and are like, this is our guy. I got a feeling the Lions are going to look at Carter and go, we're going to go in another direction. That's just kind of my impression. I could see Seattle saying we'll roll the dice with Carter. I don't think the Lions would. Just a hunch. I seriously, I had my mock draft set up and I got to throw it away now. Yeah, they're at 9. 1 and 9 have been flip-flopped. Carolina traded the number 1, and the Bears have number 9. And I have to throw away my mock draft. If the Lions don't draft a quarterback, they're stupid. Jeff Okudah and Jerry Jacobs aren't going to work out. That's what I had. I had Joey Porter Jr., who's my corner number 1, and I like because now here's the negative about Joey Porter Jr. He's not a guy that can jump in your receiver's pocket. All right, he's not that guy, but he's a phenomenal press guy. He's a phenomenal redirect guy. He's really strong. He's really long, and he's also excellent in zone. If you play press, man, he's your guy. If you play zone, he's your guy. If you want him to follow your number 1 receiver around, like oh god, another brain freeze. I'm gonna say Jalen Ramsey. He's not it. Taylor Lewan or Aaron, or if Aaron leave Bacchiardi. Well, seriously, the Packers, that's like their number one issue is that if Aaron leaves or whether he stays, they got to fix that offensive line. They have a few. Bacchiardi is one of these guys. When he plays, he's a really good player, but I don't think he's played at all the last 2 years. Taylor Lewan's a guy that if Bacchiardi leaves or retires or whatever you have, that would be a nice fit. Taylor Lewan is a guy that can play left tackle in the NFL and he can start. He's just been banged up. But John would be nice for the Lions. I seriously, if the Lions were that bold to take him at 6, if you take him at 6, I would love it. I would give him a good grade. But John Robinson on the Lions could be an MVP candidate. Oh, yeah, I love that move, too. I love that move. James, hey, man, I'm glad you're back. I'm behind on comments, man, so I'm getting caught up. Frank Clark is going to the Lions is something I could see. Isn't he a cheap guy? Oh, he's not cheap. That's the only reason he's gone in Kansas City. He's not cheap. He's not going to the Lions cheap. He's going to ask for a lot of money, and there's going to be a team that's going to give him a lot of money. He may not get the same amount of money he got in Kansas City, but he's going to get a lot of money, and he's a really good player. He's a really good player. I was sad to see him go. I'd love to see him re-sign with Kansas City cheaper, but it's a cap casualty. I haven't even asked yet, but I was kind of hoping that I could get Luke G on next week to do a mock draft with you. So Gooch, by the way, Gooch, I'm trying to get Gooch, and I'm not trying just to get Gooch. I'm going to try to get I'm getting greedy here, but I'm trying to get Gooch, and I'm trying to get Keys. I'm trying to get Aaron. I'm trying to get Big Chief Sean. If they all have a mock draft ready, come on and give me into a live mock. Now, if we can't do that, and Gooch is willing to, Gooch has a really good mock draft that he has to change. They said he was going to change. Actually, he sent it to me right before the show, and I was like, this is really good. So. Okay, so different Houston. It's James Houston. Justin Houston's a free agent, and Justin Houston's really good. Some team's going to be very happy with Justin Houston. By the way, he needed your Heat's Creed. Okay, so the new. I'm assuming you mean the new Creed movie. I hated the. Okay, so I skipped. Okay, so sometimes I watch movies and I just skip through really fast, and that's what I did with Creed 2 because I kind of like the Drago story, and I was like, Drago beats him almost to death, and then he comes back and he beats Drago, and it's like, okay, so he just fades into oblivion, and it's like, God, that's really stupid. I hated Creed 2 so much. I refuse to watch anything else. So I'm not gonna watch any more Creed movies. I did not know this. This is a great move for the Texans, and it may change if this is. I'm not questioning you, but if this happened and it's legitimate, and it's from a good source, it would change what I have the Texans doing at 12 because I had Quentin Johnson to the Texans at 12. But if they signed Robert Woods, I'd probably switch that up because I like Robert Woods quite a bit. I would like to see Carter there at 6 so a team like Philly can trade up for him given that other first. If Jalen Carter gets past Seattle at 5, I could see a team trade up. Philly is not one of them. Philly would not do that. Excuse me. The Bears might go 9-6. Trying to think of who else would trade up off the top of my head. Tennessee probably wouldn't because they have a fire sale going on. The Houston Texans might. the Houston Texans might go from 12 to 6. So. You know what? Yes, you can. Hold on. You know what? To be honest with you, I completely forgot. Hold on here. I'm going to give you one right now. You want one? All right, there you go. You wanted one, you got it. You got it. Here, let me see here. I've you know what? I apologize. I haven't given out wrench in a long time. So let me see here. It should be. There you go. Yeah. Man, I James, by the way, I apologize because you deserved one for a long time. I haven't given them out in a while, to be perfectly honest. You should have got one a long time ago. So I kind of forgot that. No, that's not Philly's motto. Philly's not a team that trades up in the draft. If anything, they're going to trade down. I could see Philly going from 10 down. And actually, I was going to project a trade in my draft. I thought that there would be a team. The way my mock draft would have gone is that the first left tackle off the board is at 10, and that's Skornansky, and he would play right tackle in Philly. So I thought that there would be a team that would try to jump over Tennessee at 11. So I saw Philly at 10 trading down. Now, Jalen Carter at 6 is interesting if he's available at 6. And I really, really think that he goes to Seattle. If Jalen Carter is available and when Seattle picks, I think that's a move that they make. So, but let's just say Seattle, who knows what the hell Seattle will do? Maybe they take Anthony Richardson. Maybe they take Levis. I don't know. I mean, Seattle's a weird team with the draft. But let's say they pass on Carter, which I don't think will happen. But nobody knows what Seattle's thinking in the draft. They could do anything. They're a crazy team. Jalen Carter at 6. I got a hunch the Lions are like, nah, we don't want to deal with it. We'll trade down. Philly won't trade up. I can promise you that. Tennessee wouldn't trade up. Chicago might. And I know what you'd be thinking. Chicago Bears. Hey, last year Minnesota traded with both the Packers and the Lions. So it's a different day. It's a different day. And I just got a weird feeling the Lions. I think the Lions are a team that's going to be like, nah, we're not gonna. It's just a hunch. It's just a hunch. I could be way off. Yeah. I do. Yeah, I do. And I think some teams it's going to be a red flag. Other teams, I don't think it's going to be a big of a deal. I think for the Lions, I think it would be a deal. And now keep in mind, between now and draft time, we're going to get 6-7 weeks of coverage. This could pan out to be nothing. It could just pan out to be, hey, listen, I mean, who didn't do something stupid at 21? Remember Matt Patricia had that DUI on spring break that they brought up right after they hired him. So, I mean, there's 101 things that you can do when you're stupid and young. I just got a hunch that they would be like, you know, so let's throw out Chicago. The Raiders probably won't go from 7 to 6. I think the Raiders want a quarterback. The Jets might. Now, keep in mind, let's say they trade for Aaron Rodgers and they have to give up the number 1 pick in the draft. That would be interesting. Okay. So if that's the case, no. New England won't trade up. Yeah, I mean, I do think I think that this trade kind of hurts the Lions because I really thought that the Lions could go from 9-6. I really thought the Lions and Panthers would be interested in the move. Dude, you're welcome. You've earned it, man. If the Lions were to trade back now and Anderson or Carter is available at 6, what team would have to give up the farm if not to take the pick at 6? That's a good one. The Jets are an interesting story. If they trade, let's just say they get Rodgers and they still have the 13th pick, which I have to think would be involved. But let's say they do have the 13th pick and they get Rodgers. Whatever they have, they might be an interesting team because they may trade a player. They could trade insane amount of draft capital and just say, hey, look, we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. We're going to sign Adam Thielen. We're going to trade up and draft Jalen Carter. That might be a possibility. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to be honest with you. I really think that if Seattle picks at 5, and yeah. Oh man, we got Bengals fan in here. Hand me my wallet. Which one is it? The one that says Bengals? Oh man, Bengals fan! If you haven't yet, please subscribe, man. We need more Bengals fan in this community. But I just want to warn you, I am a Chiefs season ticket holder. I'm a Chiefs fan, so don't hate me for it. I know lots of Bengals. I think it's good for the NFL to have the Bengals and the Chiefs in an interdivisional rivalry. I think it's good for the NFL. So don't hate me, even though I'm a Chiefs fan. But I mean, yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. The only reason I got this T-shirt is I buy clothes on the cheap. It was like a $2 T-shirt. I'm like, how am I not buying this T-shirt? But yeah, thank you. I think Brad Holmes is going to fall in love with Kancey. Remember, he was a top scout guy when the Rams drafted Darnold. And you know what? I'm not saying anything. I've been toying around with Kancey at 18. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. If Brock Wright leaves, I might want to get that tight end at 6'7", 255, runs a 4.5 40. That's a monster tight end. You're talking about the Georgia tight end, and he's a guy that should be available in the second round. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. A lot of people saw the one-handed catch. A lot of guys see the size and the speed. He's not. He's a guy that's going to drop passes. He doesn't have sure hands. I know he ran a good 40 time. He didn't play that fast. If you have a tight end that you want to block on a team like Tennessee or the way Baltimore used to run, like that great. If you want a guy to catch 70, 80 passes on your team, this isn't the guy, man. He's really not that guy. I think he's a second round dude myself. And I think that if you draft him in the first round, you're going to be really disappointed because he's going to drop a lot of easy passes. He had a good 40 time. He doesn't play that fast. He's not a guy who's going to split the seam and run by linebackers. He's not that guy. I'm telling you this right now. And I love tight ends that can block. Jason Dunn, for example, for those who don't know, he does Chief Concerns, Keys and Gooch. I know Keys did. I don't know if Gooch got to be on that show, but Jason Dunn, one of my all-time favorite players. He was tight end number 2 when the Chiefs had Tony Gonzalez. Jason Dunn was like basically a tackle, and I love Jason Dunn. Jason Dunn follows me on Twitter. I was so geeked out about that. I love Jason Dunn. And that's what Darnell Washington is. He's a blocking tight end who had a good 40 time and had that one-handed catch that people are going to look at. But if you watch his tape, he's not really a receiver. He's just a blocker. So if you draft him round 1, you're going to be pissed. You draft him late in the second, and you're like, we're going to ask you to block a lot, and you'll have about 30 catches a year, and we're happy with that. You're going to love this dude. You're going to love him. He's second round player who had a phenomenal draft. Tyree Wilson does seem like a Pete Carroll guy, yeah. So in my first mock, I had Tyree Wilson going 3 to Arizona. And the reason why Jonathan Gannon ran a hybrid 4-3-3-4, but mostly ran a 4-man front, and they don't blitz a lot. So he's going to Arizona. Arizona ran a 3-4 primarily. So I think Tyree Wilson is a player that they're just going to circle and say, this is the guy we want. He's a 4-3 defensive end. Seattle's going from that standard 4-3 to a 3-4 defense, and they're really struggling with that interior. And Tyree Wilson in that defense would be a 5-tech, and you don't draft a 5-tech at number 5. Now, the old school defense, I would agree with you that Pete Carroll likes the length. And don't get me wrong, Pete Carroll may fall in love with the guy and say, look, you're going to play outside linebacker, and then when we go even fronts, you're going to play defensive end and get after the quarterback. But they actually have some pass rushers in Seattle. If I remember, they had like 46, 47 sacks last year. But they gave up the 3rd most rushing yards. So this is confirmed. Okay. I don't think I can do Quentin Johnston at 12 then, or maybe I can. I don't know. That's a tough one, but I get what you're saying. But when I look at Seattle, they need to fix that interior. That is their number one weakness. And look at the division that they're in. They got, well, I mean, you really don't know what kind of offense Arizona's going to run, but San Francisco's a heavy run offense. Arizona, who knows what they're going to do? I mean, you really don't. Who's the other team in that division? I drew a complete blank. It's San Francisco, Arizona, Seattle, and there's one other team in that division, and I just drawn a blank. I'm so embarrassed. I should know this. The Rams. Okay. Rams are a run heavy team. So that's just my opinion. And I get it, but I really think that they just really need to fix the interior. But yeah, Tyree Wilson does seem like Pico. They could use Carter Anderson as a trade asset. Well, here's the deal with Seattle's. They have 2 picks in rounds 1 and 2, so they're not going to draft the guy just to trade him. Seattle's not. Now, a team that's picking 3rd, they might do that, and that's Arizona. And I think Arizona's having a fire sale. They're begging people to trade. So, what do you think of the rumors? Stafford's nothing. I don't think that's true at all. And the Rams are trying to cut draft capital, but I think they want their quarterback. And they released Leonard Floyd, player I loved coming out of Georgia. That kind of really didn't pan out because, I mean, he was the 9th pick overall. Didn't really work with the Bears. Had some good seasons. Has a ring. He's a guy that he's a guy that'll be interesting. He's be honest. I think the best place for him would be back in Chicago. Maybe he has a bad feeling about going back to Chicago, but he'd be an interesting player. He may be a guy that Arizona pursues in free agency. Be a good fit there. But yeah, you got the Rams auctioning off a lot of picks. I don't think Stafford's one of them. The answer to your question, nothing. It's just fun. I hate to say it, but I think the Chiefs will end up drafting a wide receiver in the 1st round due to what Robert Woods got just saying. Somebody's finished, whoever paid Juju. If you haven't already, in my description is my 1st round mock draft, and I have the chapters set up so you can just scroll to 31. But I have the Chiefs drafting a wide receiver at 31. I do. And the reason why is because wide receiver is now becoming a very hot commodity. You had Tyreek Hill's contract. You had Devontae Adams' contract. It pays to draft a receiver early, and I think the Chiefs could draft a wide receiver in round 1 because they can't pay Juju. And when contracts come up for Tre'Davious Toney and Sky Moore and MVS, instead of paying wide receivers big time money, the Chiefs could just say, well, we got a guy for 5 years that we're going to draft at 31, and he's going to be our guy. Another thing that teams are going to do is a hack. It's an NFL hack right now, is have a superstar tight end like Travis Kelce, who you're paying $14.5 million instead of paying $30 million to a superstar wide receiver. You've seen this with George Kittle. George Kittle, it makes about $15 million. He makes a little more than Kelce. You have a guy like Kittle, so you can avoid paying wide receivers. Now, keep in mind they gave Deebo Samuel a lot of money, but when the other wide receiver that they got there out of Arizona State, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, when his contract comes up, they can say, well, we got 2 guys already. We're just going to draft somebody to replace you. San Francisco in a year or two is going to have some real big cap problems, by the way. So just warning there. But yeah, I agree. I had the Chiefs taking a wide receiver, and it's because with these big contracts that are coming up, take a wide receiver and plug them for 5 years and then get the compensatory pick. Why not? No, it's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal. It's a real good deal for Robert Woods because let's say they draft a rookie wide receiver and he does well, and Woods puts up big numbers. He's young enough that in 2 years he can still get a good contract. And I always liked Robert Woods. I really liked him coming out of USC. I really liked him. He was one of my favorite players, and like it just didn't pan out. And that injury he had with the Rams, that was just heartbreaking because he was really doing a really big deal. He was on the show with you. Yeah, okay. I know he was with Keys. I know Keys because I messaged Keys like, why didn't you tell me you're going to be on? They're like, well, they recorded it. I didn't know he was on with you too. I love Jason. Jason Dunn was one of my favorite Chiefs players. I absolutely love the dude. I remember when the Chiefs got him from Philly, I was just like, yes. And oh God, one of my favorite guys. I love Jason Dunn. One of my favorite Chiefs. Absolutely love that dude. Excuse me. Very rude of me. Jacked up on my C4 energy drinks. I have a link to them below, and the only reason I have the link to them is that you can get them at the grocery store. You have to get them at the Kansas City grocery store. They're $2.50. You get a 12-pack delivered for $20. Save yourself, some money, and delivery's free. So I hope Jameson Williams, whatever issue gets resolved, already can be used as a returner this year. I would not use him as a gunner at all. You don't use first-round draft picks as gunners, in my opinion. I also don't think he should be used as a returner. But, I mean, you draft him 12th overall. You want to use him that way. I think it would be a bad move. You don't use high first-round draft picks on special teams. If the Lions did do that, kudos if he can handle it. He got injured in college. So do you want to risk him on special teams? I would be shocked if the Lions did this. Kudos if they did, but I would be shocked. I really like J-Mo coming out of college. Maybe it's just first season jitters, but he's been pretty disappointing minus the one big catch he had. Well, he's been injured. And, I hated the trade because I thought it was a bad move. Why trade up for a guy who's not going to be able to play when you're a team that is rebuilding? And their whole point was doing it for this year. So if you use them this year. Well, you're building your offense. You got two really good receivers. I like Swift. You have one of the best offensive lines. Make it work. I don't think the Lions offense, like if I'm looking at the Lions as a whole, I'm not looking at the Lions and saying we're good on offense. We're good. Just draft heavy on defense. I'm not thinking that at all. I'm like, okay, we can add another player, maybe two in the draft. But you got a lot of holes in that defense. And the fact that he can participate in OTAs in the offseason, like that's a big deal. I want to see him and Goff working together right now on routes. And hopefully that's what's happening. I don't know what his issue is. Why to me is making a big deal over it's concerning me. Oh, okay. So they're okay. I didn't get it. Brandon Ayuk was the guy I was thinking of. No, he shouldn't be. I didn't know any of this. By the way, if you follow me on social media, all my links are below. Show me these. So this is what should be happening. I know one of the big things that Mahomes did was he brought everybody down to Texas, even though he bought a house here in Kansas City. If you're not aware, when he bought a house in Kansas City, it was on the news, and they posted the address of the house on the news. Like, Jesus Christ! But he has a home in Texas, and he brought all the receivers and tight ends and backs, and they did like off-season practice together, and hopefully Goff's doing something similar. I have been a Chiefs season ticket holder since '89, but this channel talks all 32 teams. And I don't care who you're a fan of. You are more than welcome here. You can be a Raiders fan, Broncos fan, Chargers fan, Lions fan, Chiefs fan, Cowboys fan, Patriots fan. But yeah, I've been Chiefs season ticket holder since '89. I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, but this channel's for all 32 fan bases. And man, welcome, brother. And if you're new and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, man. I made this channel because I wanted to talk to 32 fan bases. I absolutely love football. I don't care who you're a fan of. I can have a conversation with you. I'm not saying I know more about your team than you do. I'm not saying that at all. I got lots of Lions fans here. I can talk to Lions fans. Do they know more than I do? Sure. They educate me on their teams because I just want to talk football. That's my goal. I just created this channel because I want to talk football. So welcome, brother, and I hope you hit subscribe. And then listen, all questions are answered. Anything goes on this channel. Whatever you want to talk about. Okay, so this is a great question, James. Alice Christian Gonzalez. Okay, I mentioned this earlier. If you have a Joey Porter's not the guy that you can put in your receiver's hip pocket. He's not the guy that's going to follow you all around the field. All right, he isn't somebody like Jalen Ramsey, and a lot of people don't think that Jalen Ramsey is the number one corner anymore, and that's fine. He's not that elite cover corner. Okay. Christian Gonzalez is that cover corner. Christian Gonzalez, I think, could come into the NFL and mirror a wide receiver completely. Like, he can be an elite corner. Joey Porter is a guy that is going to be phenomenal in press. Length, strong, powerful, excellent tackler, very physical. Joey Porter, excellent in zone. Christian Gonzalez, probably his strength will be man. I think he's more of a cover guy. I'm not saying he's not physical. He's not as physical as Porter. Is he going to be that press corner who just jams wide receivers? He's probably not going to be that guy either. But so cover skills, I'm just dumbing this down. Cover skills, Gonzalez. Press tackling, Porter. I got Porter as my number one guy because I love guys that have an NFL background. His dad played in the NFL for a long time. I like guys that are physical, and Porter has that. And also, I love the length. I mean, I love long, big corners that just jam you at the line of scrimmage, and that's just that type of player I am. I'll be honest with you, with Detroit's defensive scheme, I don't know what they're looking for in a corner. Are they going to play more? If you're a team and you're playing zone more than man, I would definitely want Porter. If you're playing man and you want a guy that like follows a wide receiver all over the field, then you want Gonzalez. And that's kind of the dumbed down difference between the two. Am I saying Gonzalez can't play press? Am I saying Gonzalez can't play zone? Am I saying Gonzalez isn't a physical corner? I'm not saying any of those things. I'm just saying I think Porter does those things better. So if I'm playing press man, like Kansas Chiefs like playing press man. The Chiefs would definitely want a guy like Porter. And what you do is I could do a whole video on playing press man and why this is such a big deal. But yeah, if you're playing press man, I would definitely suggest Porter. And this is why Porter's my number one guy. But both these guys 5 years from now could be top 5, top 10 corners easy. Gonzalez has a higher ceiling. Porter has a higher floor. I also think that Porter's one of those guys that if he has problems in the NFL, I think he can move to safety easily and be fine. Gonzalez is a guy I don't see as an NFL safety. Gonzalez does have a higher ceiling though. So JMO wants to play special teams. Raymond is the return guy anyway, so he gets a few touches. If I'm Jameson Williams, I mean, I get that, but if you draft a guy, was it 12th overall, 11th overall? I don't want that guy playing special teams. Here's what some NFL teams do, and this is what I would do. As a rookie, to get you acclimated to NFL speed, I want you to play on special teams. Year 2, you want backups to play on special teams. You don't want starters. And I want Jameson Williams to play as many games as possible. I don't want him wasting reps on special teams. I know that like in playoff games, in big time situations, Tyreek Hill would go back and return punts. I even think he played a little special teams on the Dolphins, which is unusual. I would not want JMO to play special teams if I was the Lions. If I'm the Lions brass, I come down and I say, no, this guy plays on offense only. I put the foot down. And it wouldn't surprise me if even ownership comes down, they say, Dan Campbell, hey, you don't, he plays offense only. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a conversation that they have. So if I'm Jameson Williams, if I'm the Lions, I want to hear this from Jameson Williams, and then I want to tell him, no, just work on route running. So I would keep Raymond as a receiver. He's been money. He's a guy that if he's your punt returner, kick returner, and he's like wide receiver number 5, that's great. If he's wide receiver number 3 or 4, you have some problems, and that's kind of what I see. So I get that. I get that, but I don't want high first round draft picks playing special teams. And I would be really surprised if the Lions allow this. I would be really surprised if Lions allow this. So, by the way, if you haven't already, don't forget, give me a thumbs up and please share the video. A few of you are new that I haven't seen before. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the growing community of football junkies, football fans of all 32 teams, and draft junkies. It mean a lot to me. I'm almost at 1,000. I think I've said that before. Yeah, I like. Yeah, here's the thing. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was about Jameson. Okay, sorry about that. Witherspoon. Yeah, and I really wanted to see him run. I was disappointed I didn't see him run. I heard he interviewed awesome, and even though he didn't run, I heard that because he interviewed so well that his draft stock just skyrocketed up, and every team loved him. That was what I heard, and it's kind of one of the underrated things about the NFL Combine is too many people get caught up in the stats, but it's really the interviews and how you articulate yourself. Things that you say in front of cameras is important. Take a look at Zach Wilson. That's how do you interview? So I want to see what he runs. I have a thing for taller corners, so it bothers me that, here's a guy that, 2 inches, he could go top 5. And that sucks. It's 2 fucking inches. And yeah, that's what's keeping him from going top 5. And Witherspoon could be the number 1 corner off the board. When I did my mock draft, I threw a curveball. I thought Lions fans were going to hate this. I had Joey Porter Jr. going 6 overall to Detroit, and Lions fans didn't hate it. Lots of people hated my mock draft, but Joey Porter Jr. going to Detroit at 6 makes sense. Day 1 starter, I think he could be awesome. If you told me Weatherspoon's your number 1 corner, I don't hate that. I really don't hate that. If you told me he went to Detroit at 6, I wouldn't hate that. I would not hate that at all. Do I have Porter and Gonzalez rated higher? Yes. Is it because of height and the length? Yes. The difference between 6'2" and 5'11" is like this. I know that. But I love those long, rangy corners. I really do. But yeah, he does have that dog in him. And yeah, he interviewed but he didn't run. And that kind of, God, that bothers me. I think Raymond emerged in Detroit, Tennessee. That's fair, but he's a guy that I want to be wide receiver number 5. I don't want him. I don't think that if you're counting, okay, most teams use 3 wide receivers. So if you're like, hey, Raymond's going to be our wide receiver number 3, like you got to upgrade that position. If he's wide receiver number 5, you're good. Maybe even wide receiver number 4, but he's a guy that I don't want as wide receiver number 3. And if that's the situation, I think you need to upgrade the wide receiver position because, you got Amon-Ra number 1, you got Jameson number 2, and really because you traded up to get him at 12, you want that flipped. And Amon-Ra is a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver. I get that. But you traded up to get this guy. This needs to be your wide receiver number 1. He needs to supplant whatever Amon-Ra's doing in the offseason. Jameson Williams needs to be doing more of it. And hopefully both these guys in golf are working out together. And whoever the backup quarterback in Detroit should be there too. They all should be like running routes, working out. They should all be doing that together. If I'm correct, you guys know better than I do. Didn't Golf buy a house there in Detroit, moved from California to Detroit? Is he working out in the cold and the rain, the snow, whatever the hell it's doing up there? I think last week it was like snowing or something. Yeah. Let me see which comment here. I bounced around. I think you're referring to this. And if that's the case, yeah. Yeah. And Raymond needs to be just a return guy. So Witherspoon and Joseph, it would. I listen, I don't have a problem with Witherspoon. I like Okuda a lot more than you guys do, but I get it. You know what? I should have known this. I forgot that they're both California guys. I completely forgot about it. I should have known better. I remember Amon Ra coming out of USC, and I thought he was the number 2. But if I'm Jameson Williams, I need to. The Lions really need to have Jameson Williams be the number 1 guy in 2023. That needs to happen. All right. I want to get to a couple points here. I want to talk about a few things before I leave for the weekend, because I got a lot of work to do on my mock draft. I'm going to try. I really would like to have at least 2 others. Gooch has a mock draft. He wants to do a live mock draft. I don't know how we're going to do that, but I do want Gooch. I'm going to try to get Gooch on. I'm going to try to get the other 2 guys at the Back Talk Brothers on. I reached out to Lexi and the Kingdom Queen. Well, actually, I reached out to Lexi. I was going to try to get the Kingdom Queens on. Great YouTube channel. Lexi was on during the regular season. Just killed it. If you follow Lexi on social media, her grandmother passed away today. I sent her a DM. I don't know how to process or handle death. Otis Taylor of the Kansas City Chiefs also passed away. He was 80. I hate the fact that he passed away before he got into Pro Football Hall of Fame. I hate that. He'll probably get in next year. I saw Miriam. You guys watch more Lions than I do, but I don't want this guy being wide receiver number 3. And the fact that he is making plays is a good thing, but this should be your special teams guy in wide receiver number 4 or 5. He should not be 3. I absolutely, man. Get your workouts in. You know what? I hit her up, and she said she hit me back. But then since she had death in the family, I'm not planning on her, the Kingdom Queens, coming on next week. I'm going to try to have kind of a live mock draft show if I can get a few people in. I know Gooch is down, and he's got a really good mock draft that he's said he's going to rework. Keys, I don't think has done enough draft research yet. I don't know. I haven't reached out to him. Big Chief Sean is wanting to get back on YouTube. If he's got a mock draft ready to go, and I can reach out to him, get a hold of him, I'd like to have him come on board. I haven't reached out to Luke G, and I don't know if he'd want to do a live mock ready yet. He might down the line. I haven't reached out to him yet, but I saw him in the comments today, which geeks me out. I think the world of Luke G. And he's been nice enough, like when he has at the end of his show, he has like an open forum. He's let me come on a couple times. And Roar of the Lions is a guy that he's over in the UK. Follow his channel if you haven't already. Great channel. Does some really great draft breakdowns. He did a video on Christian Gonzalez that was just A+. I saw like he released it and it only had like 30 views, and I'm like, this is A+. How is this not getting millions of views? It's really good. Because it's 7 Central. I think it's like 1 a.m, so I probably won't be able to get Roar of the Lions on. But if I can get Gooch, Keys, maybe Luke G, maybe somebody else, I'd love to do like a mock draft. I'd like to have a few people in. I don't want it to just go back and forth. We'll have to see what happens next week. But before I end this show, I want to touch base on a few points that I wanted to touch base, which now seem like old news, but a few things. Number one, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet. I'm going to say this over and over again. I think it's going to happen. I don't know what the draft compensation is going to be. I don't know what's going to happen, but Aaron Rodgers will be a Jet. Following up on that. Derek Carr to the Saints. I think this is a really good move. There was talk about Michael Thomas wanting to be traded. Now they're talking about restructuring his contract. You have Chris Olave. Alvin Kamara is going to miss some time. All right, probably 6 weeks minimum. It could be more. I think the Saints are the best team in that division. And they also traded up, so they have the 29th pick in the draft. It'll be very interesting what the Saints do with that draft pick. Marcus Davenport's a free agent that I know they'd love to sign. I don't think they can. He's got massive upside, can't stay healthy. The Saints are a team that I thought could be a really good team if they get the quarterback situation right. And Winston looked good, then he went down with an injury. So Winston's another guy that's going to be available in free agency. So is Andy Dalton. I'm secretly hoping Andy Dalton can come to Kansas City for a year cheap and get a ring. Just saying. And if you're a team and you want to draft a quarterback, you may want to consider a guy like Jameis Winston for a year. Just saying. I wonder what's the deal with Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M. He was expected to go in the 20s. Now he's projected. You'll see this. It's going to be fluid. When Texas A&M has their pro day, and I don't know when that is, I think he's going to do lights out on the pro day, and then his stock will go back in the 20s. I think he's a first-round pick. I had him going to Buffalo. Jordan, and that's because Jordan Poyer is going to hit free agency. He's going to be too expensive for the Bills. I think the Bills would be silly not to pick Antonio Johnson. I would love for him in Kansas City, but I think that what the Chiefs want is a guy that's more of a stereotypical free safety. Antonio Johnson's a really good player. I still think he's a first-round pick. I really do. I really think he's a first-round pick. I think there's going to be a team that snags him in the first round. But I think that Derek Carr going to the Saints is something that, I mean, look at the other three teams in that division. I mean, Carolina, they're going to draft a quarterback. He's probably going to play year one. I have a hard time believing Carolina, even though they have some really good pieces in play, I have a hard time believing that they're going to be a threat. Tampa Bay, I mean, Jameis Winston, could he come back there? Andy Dalton. I mean, what do you do if you're Tampa Bay at quarterback? I think Tampa Bay would be a team that I would look at Hendon Hooker early in round 2 and saying, hey, we're going to bank on this guy coming back from injury. There's a few other quarterbacks in this draft. They may also – Tampa Bay's a team I'm like, can they trade up? Let's say Detroit at 6. Can Tampa Bay go from 19 to 6? Would Detroit want to drop that low? And the appeal for Detroit is to pick 18, 19. That's kind of fun, but you got to get a lot. And I don't think I'm talking draft picks. I think I'm talking a player or two. So, what you want if you're Tampa Bay is that you're trying to get a quarterback. So Tampa Bay is probably, I mean, you lose Brady. They didn't look good. So, I mean, and then, so you have Tampa Bay, you got Carolina and Atlanta. I mean, so the Saints have to be the favorite to win that division. That's what I think. I think Derek Carr to the Saints instantly makes them a playoff team. And I think that a lot of people are kind of overlooking how good the Saints could be. And people like Derek Carr didn't win anything. Look at what he's got there. I mean, they have a good defense. They had a struggling offense, but there's pieces in play. I think he's going to be an upgrade over Andy Dalton. I mean, Andy Dalton wasn't projected to be the starter. He wasn't getting first team reps. They just threw him in there and he did a good job. He did what he was supposed to do. I mean, anything he did more than he's supposed to do. But Derek Carr, they're going to build this team around Derek Carr. By the way, if you're not aware, Dennis Allen was the head coach with the Raiders when Derek Carr was drafted. So these two know each other. This is kind of a low-key move that people aren't talking about, but the Saints are a team in the NFC. Who's best team in the NFC? All right, it's the Eagles, right? What are they doing? And they're losing. Kelsey may retire. Fletcher Cox may leave. Slay wants to be traded. Chancey Gardner-Johnson is a free agent. Who's the second best team in the NFC? Is it the Saints? I think now it could be. It's going to be we're still ramping up. This is a great offseason. We're not done. Geno Smith getting a big contract. I am not a Geno Smith fan. Never been a Geno Smith fan. Could be a Niners. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Funk. I mean, the question with San Francisco is who's their quarterback. Saints got one. 49ers don't. What about Seattle? You had 2 rookie tackles, like first time that's happened in like 40 years. Both of them played well. Geno Smith's, this is Geno's team. This is the first time in Geno Smith's career. And I've never been a Geno Smith fan, but I mean, give him credit. He did a good job. He did a really good job. And one pride's boy, Kenneth Walker, looks like a star. And Rashad Penny still comes back. He comes back from injury. Seattle's a team. Remember, they picked 5th and 20th. And what would you do if Seattle gets Jalen Carter and they also get a good player at 20? Seattle's another team that like, watch out. The Geno Smith contract is well-deserved, and it's a smart move for both teams and give Geno Smith a lot of credit. I was not a Geno Smith fan coming out of college. I mean, I don't really advocate violence, but when he got his jaw broken, I didn't feel bad for the dude, and I felt I was really glad. The player that broke the dude's jaw ended up getting signed the next day by Rex Ryan when he was coaching Buffalo. He got released, but I thought it was funny. But since that broken jaw, he ended up losing his starting job and was a backup for a long time, and he worked his way up to be a starter. So kudos to Geno Smith. Seattle's a team that you have to look at like, okay, they got their quarterback. They're in a build around Geno Smith. They got 2 really good receivers. That offensive line, which was a disaster for years, is now good. That run defense is horrible. That's why Jalen Carter at 5 makes a lot of sense. Jalen Carter goes to Seattle at 5. How good is Seahawks? Are they the second best team? If Jalen Carter goes to Seattle and he plays like he's the best player in the draft, Seattle could go to a Super Bowl. Now, keep in mind, they picked 20. They pick what? 36, I think. I'd have to bring it up, but they picked twice in the second round. If they hit on their second round picks, remember last year in the second round, they got Kenneth Walker. What if they hit like that again in the second round? DK Metcalf was a late second round pick. The linebacker who was just released by the Rams, that I should know his name because I talk about him a lot. I'm just drawing a complete blank. He was a second round pick out of Utah State. I can't believe I can't remember his name. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. I lot of name drops today. Daniel Jones got paid. All right, so people talk about Daniel Jones, and people talk about Daniel Jones, and they compare it to Lamar Jackson, and they're different situations completely. I didn't talk about Lamar Jackson, and I probably should have. And I won't this show. I will next show because we're going to have some more news on the Lamar Jackson situation. I like the Daniel Jones signing, and I like the fact that the Giants are finally saying this is our guy. They got an offensive minded head coach. They they shored up, they fixed their offensive line more or less. I mean, they got Evan Neal, who I think is going to take a big step up. Andrew Thomas, a guy that I loved coming out of Georgia, did a really good job. You also tagged Saquon Barkley. All right. In my mock draft at 25, they take a receiver. The defense is really good. I like the move. I want to see it work. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones, by the way. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones, but I do like the fact that they gave him a contract. And I like the fact that the Giants are saying, this is our guy. I like it. And I like the fact that he tagged Saquon Barkley. When healthy, he's the number one athlete at the running back position. Is he the best running back? I don't know. I really don't. But when he's healthy, he's the best athlete. He's 230 and can score from anywhere on the field. He's an excellent receiver. It's really weird because he's a big, powerful dude. He set like every weightlifting record at Penn State, but for some reason or another, he doesn't really run really well between the tackles. It's a really weird thing about Barkley, but it's true. So I love the way they did the Geno deal, front load so he gets taken care of for what he did. No matter what happens, they can draft. Yeah, by the way, yeah, and that's another thing is that Seattle at 5 can take a quarterback. They absolutely can take a quarterback, and they can have him sit. Let me throw something out. They could draft Hendon Hooker at 20. They could draft Hendon Hooker in the second round, and they can have him sit. And I think that would be more likely. It wouldn't surprise me if Seattle took Hendon Hooker at 20. It would surprise me if they took a quarterback at 5. But Seattle's one of those teams in the draft that, like, nobody knows what they're going to do. Nobody knows what they're going to do in the draft. So one price says I have checked him out, and the reason why I haven't brought him up yet is that he's a guy I really, really like. He had a really good combine. He's not first round player, and that's why I haven't really brought him up. But he's a guy that a team can get in the second or third round, and you're going to be really happy with him. Remember David Montgomery? He was a third-round pick. Chiefs got a seventh-round pick that started in the Super Bowl. I really like to get him. I think I know his last name's Brown. I'm gonna say it was Rob Brown. I could be wrong about that, but no, I've checked him out. I actually really like him. I haven't brought him up because he's not first round player. He's probably not second round player, but he's a guy that some team's going to get, and is really he's a guy that teams are really going to like. He's a player I like too. Yeah. Danny Dimes' contract is going to make Goff a 45-plus guy. Lions hopefully address that this year in the draft. Like a guy like Hooker would work. I'd move up late in the first round for him. So you're saying the Lions should just take Hooker at 18? Well, God, that would be high. And if I'm the Lions, I would like to take him in the second round. I'm drawing a blank when the Lions pick in the second round. I'm drawing a complete blank. I know they picked twice. So your first pick or second pick in the second round, can you take Hooker? Maybe. Would you trade up in the second round and take Hooker? That's a good move. If I'm the Lions, I would not do this. One, it's a little rich. And two, you've done a really good job drafting. You've done a really good job drafting. Okay, so it's 49 to 55. I think he could be available at 49, but if I'm the Lions and I'm targeting Hendon Hooker, I trade up in round 2. The Lions have done such a good job drafting players over the last couple of years. I want to see the Lions get some day one starters at 6 and 18. Because if they get some day one starters, guys that can improve this team In my first mock draft, they get a day one starter in Joey Porter and Osiris Torrance, one of my favorite players in the draft. That's a plug and play guy who gives you the best offensive line in football. You get 2 day one starters, 2 players that instantly improve your team. You finished the season knocking Green Bay out of the playoffs. So you got better. Use these 2 picks on futures. You brought this up last time, off-ball linebacker slide in the draft. Because I think at 49 and 55, you can get an off-ball linebacker and you can get a safety. So let's say at 49 and 55, you get an off-ball linebacker and a safety. You draft a player at 6 who's a day one starter. I like Porter, but let's say you go Witherspoon. Let's say you go Gonzalez, whatever. Would you take Hooker at 18 then? Maybe. And by the way, if you're curious who a trade partner would be, you kind of nailed it because Kansas City, I think, could trade up. And Kansas City would be an ideal trade partner at 31. And if you're the Detroit Lions at 31, would you take Hendon Hooker? Yes. Keep in mind, if you trade down from 18 to 31, you're going to get some extra draft capital. John Dorsey has a good relationship with the Kansas City Chiefs. There was some rumors that I think they get some help. So, yeah. I would not take him at 18. However, if you get a day one starter at 6, whoever you like, 49 and 55, you get your off-ball linebacker. All right, let's say Trenton Simpson. I don't think he falls 49, but let's just say you get Trenton Simpson. Probably not going to be available at 49. The linebacker of Alabama, Tua, something like that. He might be available. A guy that I want Kansas City to draft in the second round, Jimmy Robinson, safety out of Florida State. He's undersized, but he can be used in that slot corner, free safety role. He may be available in the third round, but let's say you get those players. Then, and like I'm looking at the Lions like, oh, God, I don't want to fuck with this team. I wouldn't go Hooker at 18, but I would trade down. And Kansas City's a team I think is going to try and trade up in the draft. So you may have nailed it 18 and 31. Mike T, man, welcome, brother. Yeah, they do. So Mike, I don't recognize you. So man, hit that subscribe button. If you like football, you like draft content, and you want to be part of a community that likes all 32 football teams, Raiders do need some help. So I think the Raiders have fallen in love with Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. That is my opinion. I think the Raiders at 7 could trade up to 3. All right. And I think that they love Levis. They could also sit at 7 and take Levis. I think that Levis is the guy that could come in and start day one for the Raiders. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. After that, they need some help in free agency and in the draft. And I like the fact that they tagged Jacobs. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the situation, but I know they kept Jacobs. Jacobs is a really, really good football player. But they need some help in the secondary. They need some help. They need help all levels on defense. Now, on offense, I think that what they could do after they draft their quarterback is get some help in free agency. But, yeah, they need some help. But Levis, if he pans out, the Raiders could be a low-key dangerous team because they got some good players. Max Crosby's really good. Devontae Adams is really good. They need their tight end, Darren Waller. They need Waller to stay healthy. Like, Waller is really good. Can he stay healthy? The kid Um, I'll be honest, Luke. So when I had Luke G was nice enough. He came on my show and he said if the Lions are stuck at 6 and they can't trade down, I think they draft Levis. I think Levis will be available. I think the John Robinson makes more sense. And the John Robinson on the Detroit Lions is a legitimate MVP candidate with Patrick Mahomes, with Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I think he's a legitimate. As a matter of fact, if John Robinson goes 6 or 18 to the Lions or wherever he goes, let's say he goes, I'm going to hit up sports books and I'm probably going to put a $25 bet on John Robinson winning MVP. Behind the Lions' offensive line, with a healthy Jameson Williams, he could be the best player in the NFL as a rookie. Eric Dickerson never won MVP. He's the only running back who's run for 2,000 yards in a season and not won an MVP. When Eric Dickerson was a rookie, he led the NFL in rushing, set a rookie record. It was like 1860, 1880. Had I think 20 touchdowns, something like that. Didn't win MVP. Can't remember who won an MVP in '83, but it may have been Riggins. Anyway, led the NFL in rushing at 20 total touchdowns. I think it was like 2,300 total yards. He could have that type of impact. No ceiling on the Lions. And I say that on the Lions because you have a wide receiver with deep speed. You have a really good wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have a really good quarterback in Jared Goff. You also have a bad defense. So you got to put up some points. You got to put up some yards. And I think that they would want to run the ball. Najee Harris had in Pittsburgh his rookie season. If I remember right, he had like 375 touches. He had like 70 receptions, 300 carries. I went to the Pro Bowl, had like 10 touchdowns, and they had the worst offensive line in football. Robinson is better than Harris. And Pittsburgh had the worst offensive line in football, and Najee Harris had a Pro Bowl caliber season. So imagine what Robinson could do behind that offensive line. But you're Luke, as always, you're 100% right. In my perfect fix, a defense mock world without trades, Lions would go Porty Jr. or whoever you prefer, Cansey, and then second round pick. By the way, Campbell's a guy that would be available in the second round, and he's a guy I love. If you're not familiar with him, long, rangy, tall dude out of Iowa. This is the guy who's going to come in, probably be a day one starter as a rookie, probably get like 125 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 interceptions. Skinner may be available in round 3. You're right. You're right. I'm drawing a blank on Rick's off the top of my head. Oh, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and stay in touch with you and find out what we can do. I'd like to get at least 3 people for like a mock draft. If it's just me and you, it'd be a lot of fun. But what I might do is just post like your mock draft and then say, here's mine, here's yours, here's why yours is better. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, and seriously, I would love the Lions. I don't know if the Lions would do it, but I do. I don't see anyone outside of Carr. Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Robinson has a bigger impact than Carter on the Lions. Only on the Lions, because you have that offensive line. You have a deep threat, so you can't put 7 in the box. It used to be 8 in the box, but It's 7 now, but let's say we'll go old school. You can't put 8 in the box because the Lions have that speed on the outside, and they also got Amon-Ra. And Goff's a good enough quarterback that you can't just load up. That's why for the Lions, Robinson would have the number one impact. On a team like Seattle, it would be Jalen Carter because they need to fix that run defense. But for the Detroit Lions, John Robinson, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. They should sell out on jerseys like immediately. And I will look on sports books and I'll probably put a $25 wager because I'll get some crazy high number. And I want to see it happen. Oh, okay. If you haven't already, Mike, right in the description, I have a link to my first round mock draft. But I'll tell you, I got Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. And I really think that Josh McDaniels likes Will Levis. I think the Raiders had the number one pick in the draft, which if you are not aware, it's now the Carolina Panthers. If the Raiders had the number one pick in the draft, they would draft Will Levis number one. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders go from 7 to 3 to get Will Levis. It wouldn't surprise me. I think they're in love with the guy. Of all the quarterbacks in the draft, Levis is the most ready to play day one. He's the most ready. And I think the Raiders, if they draft a quarterback, they need somebody who can play immediately, and I think they like Levis. If Levis is available at 7, that will be the pick. I would not be surprised if the Raiders trade up because the way it looks like Carolina's going to take a quarterback, Houston's going to take a quarterback, and then the Colts at 4 are probably going to take a quarterback. So you have Arizona at 3. And they're not going to take a quarterback. And they've been public. They're begging people to trade. And seriously, the Raiders at 7. I think Arizona wants to trade down so bad that they'll make a favorable trade to get out of that spot. And I think that when you look at the draft, I think that you could see multiple teams trying to get into pick number 3. I would not be surprised if the Raiders make that trade. If they stay at 7 and Levis is available, I 100% believe that's going to be the pick. I think that they love the kid. And he had a good combine. He's the most ready to start. And I think the Raiders need a day one starter. I don't think they would go Richardson because I don't think he's ready right away. I don't think that they want to go into the offseason with Stidham as the quarterback. I think that they need to go into the offseason and say, we got a young guy. He's going to be a day one starter. My boy, Luke. Luke, if you're still watching, man, if you're interested, and I should hit you up. This week's been kind of a crazy week for me. If you are interested in doing a mock draft, a live first round mock draft, I'd love to have you on. I got Gooch, who gave me his first round mock draft. He's going to change it. At least he said he was in the comments. It was actually really good. That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot. And I think second round's a good spot. And I think Detroit would be a good team for him. I think one of these off-ball linebackers is going to fall. In my first round mock draft, I left Trenton Simpson off. I left Miles Murphy off, and I left Trenton Simpson off. And when I do my mock draft 2.0, I really want to find a way to put both those players in, but I don't know who to take off. That's the problem. And Miles Murphy, because he didn't work out at the combine, out of sight, out of mind, but a lot of people had him going top 10. So that's kind of the way that I see it. On that note, unless anybody has any final questions, I'm going to wrap up. We had a few people say this, but Slasher was the first one on this channel to say that we're going to go live. Oh God, I forgot about Overshawn. Yeah, he's a guy. Overshawn's a guy I love, a former safety turned linebacker. He's 6'2". I think he measured in at like 230, 225, somewhere in that range. He's a Texas linebacker I absolutely love. This is a 3-down player. Seriously, Detroit could take him in day 2. He would be a day 1 starter, and you guys will love him. I forgot about Overshawn. He'd be a perfect pick. Oh, my girl from Hey Girl TV. So listen, guys, give me a thumbs up. No other questions. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to have my mock draft. If you're not aware, I'm going to have my mock draft. Well, this is I have to change this, but it will be my second mock draft. Let's do that. All right. I'll have my mock draft 2.0 released Tuesday at 6 p.m. You can check out in the description link my first round mock draft. In the community tab, you could also vote. There was lots of people that did not like my mock draft. I was really surprised. I thought Lions fans would not like Osiris Torrance going to Detroit at 18, but it did not get the hate that I was expecting, which I'm really grateful for, because to me it makes a lot of sense. So with that, hey guys, I'm going to wrap up. I hope to see everybody back next Friday. I'm hoping to have a first round mock draft live. I got Gooch. I'd like to get at least one other person. That way we can have a threesome talking about the NFL draft. So on that note, I'm going to get out of here. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all back next Friday.